What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Slow Your Roll. My name is Cody. Today, I wanted to go over this little thing I found called Hexroll.app. Technically, it is Hexroll 2nd edition. Looks a little something like this, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so looks a little something like this. Basically, the idea is this thing will generate an entire hex-based map. And in it generates so many things. It generates dungeons, towns from many different sizes. So it'll generate like very small villages up to like towns and then massive cities. It will definitely do mega dungeons even by default, unless you click a thing that's like you prefer small dungeons or whatever. But anyway, basically, the point is I'm doing this video because it blew my mind. And I don't know, you might already know about it. And if you do, that's cool. But if you don't, man, check this thing out. It's really cool. It's a really cool tool to use for random generation for any kind of map or town or dungeon, or I don't even remember what else there was, inns, I mean, all kinds of stuff. So basically, we're just going to generate a map and kind of look at what it did. So I'm just going to click roll a sandbox. You could also do a solo sandbox, which actually makes a map that it gives you like a table of contents like situation where you pick a place where you want to spawn or start your game, and then you don't really see the surrounding areas. So you could actually kind of run it like a solo RPG or something like that too, which could be really interesting or fun for like maybe a one shot or a really short campaign if you don't want to do a lot of prep and your table's okay with, something like that. Anyway, but let's just click roll a sandbox and get into this. So it does take a second, but not too long. And then it gives you some options. Most of the waiting is after these options where it's actually generating the map. But by default, it starts you with realms, templates, and this will change all these numbers, basically. So the regions are like your biomes. So, you got your mountains, forests, plains, desert, tropical areas, swamps, and tundra. In a lot of these, by default, tundra is at 0, which I don't necessarily like. So anyway, but you can click kingdom, lands, duchy, island. So if you do island, it's like the smallest amount. It's greater than 3, but less than 8 of that. Mostly forested, some grasslands, yada, yada, yada. So there's island. You could also do empire, which is like the exact opposite. It generates 24 to 32 regions, and this is big. So we'll do this one to be fun. We'll just do the biggest one it makes. You can choose to populate the worlds later if you want to add your own population and stuff. But obviously for the contents of this video, that won't make a lot of sense. So we'll do generate now and see what it gives us. After deciding what you want for your realm and terrain, you can head down. It gives you some options for the dungeons that it generates. All right. And then, so you've got how many dungeons? Between 1 to 3. That's fine. Dungeon probability. This is like per region, I believe, right? Generator dungeons will hold monsters, treasure, and will open up additional quest opportunities by other NPCs. I'm pretty sure this is by region, not by map, because this would not be nearly enough for as big of a map as the Empire. So dungeon types, you can change it between caves, temples, and tombs. I like all of them. I think that they're all pretty cool. They all make sense. Right here, I would click prefer small dungeons. But for this video, I won't, and you'll see what I mean. Small dungeons, unless you're running a dungeon crawl, the small dungeons that it gives are like I don't want to say normal, because what's normal in TTRPGs? It's whatever you want. But the smaller dungeons are much more like the dungeons you might just grab and use in a game randomly or whatever else. But it does basically make anything between normal small dungeons that are like 5 to 10 rooms, all the way up to basically mega dungeons that are like 30 rooms plus, and it's just crazy. So that's good. You can decide the settlements that it gives you. I'm gonna kind of start speeding through these. So like settlements, that's cool. Cities, towns, villages, whatever. Inns. You can change the odds of the cities, towns, villages too, which I think is cool because it might be rare that there's a city, because the cities are flipping big. So inns, dwellings, factions, you can decide what amount of factions are in the map, which is pretty cool. And they're all good. They have like a little bit of backstory and the people involved in them. You'll see what I mean. The treasure multiplier, by default, the treasure, if you're playing like a 5e game or a game that uses an economy similar to 5e, 1 times treasure is actually way too much. I would do like 0.1 because that's the lowest you can do, and that feels a little closer to accurate. But for now, we'll leave it at 1. And then you just click generate. It does take a quick second to generate, but not too long most of the time, especially for everything that it gives you. Okay, and here we are, the Empire of Ushanor. And you'll see there is 0 tundra because I didn't change the tundra thing. So when there's 0% of, you know, that thing being spawned in, it doesn't spawn in. But anyway, so let's get right into this thing. You can do a bunch of stuff with these toggle buttons. You can change the markers. Is that this one? Yes. So you can change it so that it's just the hex labels, or you can make it so that it's, you know, labels each region accordingly, or just nothing. And that's all up to you. So that's cool. There is a couple different map styles. You click this, it changes the color, but this actually changes like the style of the map. And if you zoom in, there's like fun little illustrations and it's cute. I like it a lot, actually. I think that's a really cool touch. There's a couple different ones too. This one's my favorite. It's kind of dark, you know, the illustration of that thing, house, edifice of sorts. Very cool. But again, for now, I'm just going to go back to what's normal. So that's cool. There's a dice tray, and the dice are actually really nice. You can change your colors, but they roll super nicely, and you can roll a bunch of them. And it's cool, and you can change your color right here. There are many different options. I've yet to find a way to put in a custom color. But this is probably my favorite color anyway, so something like that. Roll a bunch of dice. Very cool. So that works. You can actually use this as VTT mode, which is really crazy. But if you click that button, your virtual tabletop is now ready, and you can do a bunch of different stuff. Like you can specifically indicate hexes to the people playing who you'd give this link to. You can add tokens to dungeon maps and things like that as well. So that's really cool. But let's go to, how do you do this thing? Oh yeah, okay, that gives you that stuff. So that's cool. So there's like a little help menu as, you know, as far as what buttons you actually use to do stuff. Let's find a hex that has a city or town or something. What is this? What's this? What is this? Click that. Okay. Murky dark water. This is Volkavara's observatory. Glass made. So there's a bunch of stuff. Okay, so this is just some random settlement. That's what this is. This is not a village, town, or anything like that. This is a settlement. So this is what the settlements look like. They give you a nice description there, which is really cool. The glass-made observatory of Volkavara of Nakari can be found on a dry patch of the land. Cool, it gives you plot hooks. So this whole settlement, this is just a plot hook. Like if you were traveling or whatever, this would be something you would use as a plot hook. And it looks pretty cool. He's hoping to research lightning stone, thought to be found in Aurora Grove. And any of these things are, like any of these links you can click and it brings you directly to whatever page it's got linked there. So if you click Aurora Grove, it talks about specifically the hex, the things you'd find in the hex, some fun description stuff. A lightning stone reservoir is just like hanging out in this hex. Like it's just very impressive, just randomly generated stuff. It would be up to the GM to weave it together in a way that actually is good and makes sense. But man, I'm so impressed by this. We'll zoom in on this thing. I believe this is a dungeon. You zoom in on the dungeon. Nice, it's actually a relatively small dungeon. You can change, you can change the labels here. Yes, much easier to have numbers. You can do numbers, like the big monsters that are in the rooms. You'll see what I mean. So, wrong buttons. Okay, yeah, labels, cool. All right, so numbers, if you click 17, the one that had the big monster in it, it gives you a bunch of different stuff. So there's foreshadowing before you go into this room, or maybe it's actually during, maybe it's while you're in the room. That's possible too. But either way, it is impossible to hear anything inside. I feel like that's foreshadowing before you go in. It describes to you exactly the doorways and what direction, so that if your players, like you don't want to reveal the map to your players, or you could do a fun thing where they chart out the dungeon themselves as they're exploring. That's definitely an option that I've seen people do, especially if you're using a Theater of the Mind games or playing older games or something like that too. But it gives you exactly the doorways, what direction they're coming from, a description specifically for something interesting in the room. Oh, right here, there's a lich inside. Roll or decide for reaction. It gives you a little bit of a kind of like a stat block for the lich. I think these are actually toggleable HP things, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how to make them work offhand, but you can actually like track more, kind of track the lich right here. And the monster horde. See, if you beat this lich, you immediately earn 42,000 gold. So like I was saying, the normal treasure multiplier is a bit exaggerated. And I recommend like a 0.1 or something around there. But yeah, so that's a cool thing. Dungeons, you can do a bunch of different stuff with dungeons. So it shows you every room has like a little description. And a lot of times there's like random, like there might be a chance of encountering this thing, or yeah, exactly. This area is dark and cold, and there are several burn marks on the ground. You spot something quite big lying on the floor. Lying on the floor is a dust-covered human skeleton, and if you search it, you find a bunch of stuff in it. One of the things is a key, which is really cool. It intentionally gives you reasons to explore other dungeon rooms, which is like a classic thing you do making dungeons, but it's incorporated, and it gives you a specific symbol for the key, so you can even describe the symbol to your players that might be next to the door that's locked, or the key that you find, and you're like, oh, well, once we find this door, this key will do it, you know? It gives you all that stuff. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Random generated dungeon. At any point, you can just scroll out, too, which is really cool. You can just scroll out of that hex, move around. There's so much you can do. I don't remember how to get to the table of contents, so most of the time I just click a hex, and then you can do it through here. So yeah, you can click table of contents there. And it shows you everything that's in the map. Every region, settlements, dungeons, it's all there. I will say, it seems, did it really generate no villages or cities or something? Is that a thing? What? Why? How? Interesting. That's really interesting. I'm wondering if that's for some reason one of the things, like one of the things I did to set it up, maybe I prevented it from doing towns or villages, or maybe the odds are just really slow, really low on the empire setting. I'm not sure. But one thing you can do, and this is another, probably the last thing I'll show, one thing you can do is you can click a random hex, right? And this one has some stuff going on, but if you don't like something that's in a hex, or you're like, man, this isn't interesting enough, like I really want it to do something more interesting, you can actually come up over here to the right corner, which is directly where my face is. So hang on just a sec. Let me move my face. Boop. There we go. Okay, so you can see like some stuff. I'll go on the bottom. There we go. Okay, so you can see these buttons at the top right there. Come back over here. You can see those buttons at the top right. Whoops. Click the same hex I was on a second ago. There we go. All right. You can click this to edit the page, and that lets you literally edit text in the page, which is pretty cool. So if there's something you don't like, you want to change it a little bit or whatever, you can. I probably wouldn't be bothered with that personally, but one thing you can do, if you hit the lock button, you can unlock it, and it shows this little dice, these little dice right here, and here, and here, and here. I'll say I don't like the description it gives. I can click this little dice right there, changes the description. I don't like the encounter table it gives. Roll the little dice, changes the encounter table. I don't like the weather. Same thing. Or alternatively, you can just click the dice up here at the top right, and it will re-roll the entire hex, giving you options of like, oh, now the hex is clear. What do you want to do? So now I'll make a settlement. Settlement. Look at that. Now it's a town. I'm going to roll until maybe I can get a city, or maybe not. Maybe it's just towns. It's probably just going to roll towns because that's the category it rolled. That's fine. So you can click a town. Click the town of Olden. And it shows you every town, shop, and service in there. And not only that, but they're like all linked, so you can just click them real quick, or scroll, click, open it in a new tab or whatever. And it shows you not only, it gives you all this info. There's guards for this town. Arius Dyer, level 6 fighter. Who's this guy? Why is he on here? I don't know. He's just there. He's just a popular town folk. Everyone knows Arius Dyer. Arius Dyer, but you can click the lodge. It shows you the staff in the lodge, the keeper of the lodge. Hang on, I gotta move my face back. This is bugging me. That's not right. Yeah. Okay, so it shows you the keeper, it shows you the staff, it shows you the drinks that are on the menu or available, food that's on the menu, popular patrons and visitors. And the crazy part, a lot of these guys will have, and gals, a lot of these people will have specific quest, like plot hooks with them, right? So I click one of these people. On her time off, Duca will enjoy a drink or two in the Devil's Staff Lodge. Or you can unlock the page and roll for a hook, which the page is currently unlocked, so we can roll for a hook. Now, a handcrafted broom is lost, or so claimed. But there's a secret. This is actually a broom of flying, and it's currently somewhere in the crypt of the Dishonored Blades. This is a quest hook. Boom, just like that. You've got a quest hook, you've got a dungeon you need to go to. You can click the dungeon, look at everything about the dungeon. It gives you a little description of the dungeon itself and the stuff. You know, it just gives you so much stuff. So that's really cool. So yeah, honestly, that's it. There's so much you can do with this app that when I found it, it just kind of blew my mind. And it's just like free on the internet. You do get a few more perks if you support them on Patreon. But really, I mean, like, not much. You can like save your maps technically, which you can do anyway if you just save the link. So it's almost completely like non-paywalled in any way, completely free app, and it deserves to be known about. I mean, this thing is incredible. So yeah, that's it. Sorry, I drank way too much caffeine. My beard's all scraggly. I just wanted to, get this video out there. I thought it was pretty interesting. So if you like this, let me know in the comments. Feel free to like, subscribe, all that stuff. And let me know if you have other tools that you use that are like really big, important random generators. I will say I know about a lot of them because I play a lot of solo game stuff. But when I found this one, it blew my mind. In fact, I'd found it in the past, but they'd done so much work to it that it is completely different now. So hexroll.app. I will leave it in the description below as well, of course. But anyway, yeah, thanks guys. Let us know if you got anything else you want me to make videos on that are maybe kind of like this or whatever. So I will see you guys around. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.